Hi guys, we're here with Anna Chlumsky from Veep, and last time I spoke to you, Anna, you had never been nominated for an Emmy before. In that time, now you've been nominated for 2 seasons of Veep. What's that been like?
It's pretty great. I have to admit. The first one was like a really kind of encouraging, like you're doing the right thing, keep going, keep doing what you're doing, and it felt so nice to be recognized by your peers and by my industry, and the second one is like yeah, they it wasn't a fluke the first time. It's great. It's really great.
Yeah, and with Gary Cole getting in this year, and with Tony getting in both years and winning last year, it like because before you got nominated and before Tony got nominated last year, we'd only seen sort of Julia awarded for the
Right.
show, and it's now
Right.
got ensembles getting more embraced and accepted. And I think you've also got the Screen Actors Guild nomination in that time and things. So it's really being, I think, acknowledged more as an ensemble show now than maybe that first season when it was Julia getting a lot of the notices.
Yeah, and obviously any accolades Julia receives are completely well deserved, and she is the queen bee of the show. She is the Veep. So that was never any kind of confusion on our part. We always thought she deserved absolutely every award that there is to give, and we still think that, and she still deserves that. But yeah, I think having the ensemble recognized, and yeah, the SAG nomination was, even Julia too was like, guys, isn't this just the best? And it really does feel that way. It's like we all love playing with each other so much and love being in the sandbox together that when the audience appreciates it as much as we do and has as much fun as we do, it's just like, yeah, it's that much more gratifying. It's so lovely.
Mm. And how did you find out about the nomination this year, getting nominated for Veep?
Yeah, it was slightly anticlimactic for my coterie. I hate the word like team and posse and all that. So my coterie, everyone who represents me. I basically woke up. I was in Williamstown, Massachusetts, doing a play for the festival, for the theater festival there, and so I'd woken up, and it was just me and my daughter that day because my husband was in New York working. And so, she woke up at her normal 6:30. We went downstairs. She had her breakfast, and I left the phone upstairs because, like, who calls you at 6:30 in the morning? That's really just kind of your time. And after Penny's breakfast, we kind of just danced around to a bunch of Celia Cruz and Carlos Vivas, and then I went, when it was time for her nap, like 2 hours later, I put her down, and I was going to take a nap, but then my phone rang, and my publicist was on the other line, and she was like, congrats, like, anticlimactically, because she'd thought that I'd already listened to a whole bunch of voicemails that I hadn't even seen. And I'm like, for what? Because I didn't really know, you don't want to assume stuff. And she's like, hello, you were nominated. So that's how I found out, and then of course I was totally happy. Didn't take the nap I was going to take, and found all the voicemails, and it was I believe the sequence of voicemails was my publicist, my husband, and then my manager. So.
And what was it like at the Emmys last year with obviously Julia winning again, and like that's so exciting, and she is such a big part of the show, you say, but also Tony winning, who that was a bit of a surprise just because it was his first ever time being nominated and things like that. What was that like, seeing him get up there too?
I mean, it's like. You just feel so freaking proud, I mean, it's a really emotional moment. I mean, it's really surreal, I think, for everybody in that theater. It's an enormous theater, and we're like in the front rows of it, you know, and even just getting to sit by him and Tony's wife Martell, and then seeing Julia and Brad and all just kind of getting to be there, and you know, you share all of this together anyway. Like, you're all glammed up and it's fun and you kind of feel like it's dress up and you can't believe you're there. And then on top of it, I mean, to hear Tony's name, it was just so great, because it's like, yeah, I mean, because we love him so much. We know he's the best, and he's so fantastic and such a freaking great actor. And, you know, to have everybody else agree is like, yeah, damn straight. And his speech was so lovely, and yeah, it was, God, what a proud moment.
Hmm. And probably the highlight of the Emmys last year, in a lot of ways, was when Julia won and Tony got up with her on stage, and you were on your BlackBerry texting away. How did you get involved in that sort of that bit?
I had heard through the grapevine that they had something planned, and so I told them, I was like, is it okay if then, you know, I'm Amy on the like on the phone the whole time? And Julia, like, her eyes lit up, and she went, yeah, and she said, stay on it the whole time, because she's smart enough to know that, you know, no one knows when they're going to cut to the audience, right? So she's like, be on it that whole time. And so I did, and, you know, I definitely was like, half of my brain was concentrating on just being on the phone the whole time. The other half was like listening to my leading lady win her Emmy. And yeah, I'm so glad that everybody got a kick out of it. And it was really funny too, because I got some emails like directly after that were like, oh, you know, they caught you on your phone, and you're like, you don't watch my show. So I caught a bunch of people in my personal life who who hadn't watched the show yet.
Were you method acting? Were you actually texting someone, or was it all fake?
Oh no, that is acting, my son.
Yeah. Yeah. We've got a question from Irish Movie Lover Forever in the chat room, saying, do you and the cast have anything planned for any of your wins this year? If you win, any more bits planned?
No one's told me yet, and so I'm as in the dark as anybody else. So I'm, you know, who knows? And a lot of the time, these bits, we really, you know, I think they're kind of thought up very close to the day. So even if there is something, I don't think anybody would talk about it yet. But I have no idea.
Yeah, when I spoke to Tony, he said it was like the day before he got the call about that, or like that was like very last minute. Yeah. So anyway, like, talking a bit about this season of Veep and your role on Veep this season, and this is sort of like you when you're nominated for an Emmy, get to submit an episode to voters to judge you on, and you chose the episode Detroit this year. You want to talk about why that was chosen for you, or anything you remember about that episode?
I felt, you know, everybody in the that we had talked to, like our creator and anybody I had asked about in the cast, you know, we all felt that Amy's kind of main arc this season was 5, 6, 7, where she's trying for the campaign manager position, doesn't get it. 6 is her defeat, and 7 is her revenge, really, you know. And so I thought 6 was so interesting because so many things happen in that episode. Like, it's chock full of things. You can't believe that all of those things happen in one episode. And that's a testament to Tim Kirkby, our director of that episode. And the neat thing for Amy is, and I felt as an actor that, you know, it showcases her in a position that she's never been in before. Like, we've never seen her in sure defeat before. You know, sometimes she has, you know, like her office or Selina will have a setback that she has to kind of pull herself up from, but never kind of a resignation of like, ugh, well, I didn't get what I wanted, but I'm still here, and why am I still here? And I'm just gonna, you know, she kind of has to plug along, and I just thought that was a really unique way of seeing Amy, and I know playing her, it was a unique thing to play. It was kind of brand new playing Amy that episode. So, and also, I don't know, I just feel like, you know, bringing the new energy of Ray, played by Chris Maloney, and all of those antics, and the assault, and how we handle the assault, and all of those things. I think, I don't know, I just felt like it was such a fun episode to play as Amy, and a lot of her stuff stayed in the episode, so I think that's the other main reason.
We've got also, like, in that episode, your character reflects a bit on her relationship with Selina, where she's sort of going, yeah, she's my best friend, and they're like, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, yeah, like it's rare that Amy is a victim of delusion. So I think this one was a fun one to play her delusion a bit.
And then Selina sort of pulls her aside and goes, "Oh, I've got to tell you something," and you can sort of see Amy go, "Oh yes, we're friends." Like,
yeah.
So that and also. And then, what do you think the state of the relationship between Amy and Selina is? Like, how do you think that's developed over the seasons of Veep?
You know, I think at this point, you know, whether or not they realize it, I think they're kind of skirting the edge of family, because they're at the point where they don't know why they've been in each other's lives this long. You know, I think that Amy's, you know, Amy believes in Selina. She really does, and not without good reason. You know, when Selina's on, she's on. You know, she's actually very good at what she does. Sometimes she can broker very difficult deals in Congress, and you know, she can chomp the pants off of many people at one time. So, you know, not without reason, Amy has really bet on this horse to be, you know, to take him all the way, be the first female president, and that's huge. And I think that, you know, while Amy can be a cynic, and she can be pretty pessimistic and negative at times, I think that she's got a bit of idealism in her, and that's why she sticks with Selina. But you know, at this point, they've been together for like 10 years, so I think, you know, there's a bit of like, she believes in her, but also she kind of doesn't know what life would be without her, you know. So that's where I think that little familial thing comes in, because it's just like, well, you know, do I eat? Do I breathe? Do I, you know, use the restroom? And am I in Selina's life? Like, these are all like sure things, right? So I think that's where they're at. It's pretty great, though, I think, by the end, that at least Amy gets to be in a position of leadership for this person that she's, you know, that she's grown to really kind of care about, and for her career as well. But, you know, let's not make any bones about it. A lot of this is about Amy's own ambition. Her, you know, she also wants to be the person to secure victory for the first female president. She doesn't, you know, do it completely out of blind faith.
Yeah, it's sort of like you talking about. It reminds me of that adage, like you don't get to choose your family, you choose your friends. And sort of Veep almost seems like it has become this sort of family of this group of people that are so dependent on each other and sort of need each other so much, but you sort of don't know how they all ended up together, and sort of like this ragtag group of people. Like,
oh, totally. And it's like, wait, you know, I think if any of them had the time to step back, like even like Matt's character gets to right before everything starts to change in episode 9, you know, he's like, wait a second, I don't have to do this. I could have ducks in my backyard, right? Like, that's the whole. And so I think if, you know, if any of them had a second to just step back, they could start to see alternatives for their lives. But But, you know, I mean, as far as Amy's concerned, nothing is as exciting. She can't leave this. Like, even the idea of it just bores her to death. You know, this is too exciting.
What about the episode after when you submitted the special relationship, where you probably cross over like to do like the most dodgy thing Amy's done on the show, which is leak information to lose Danny's job, something that like I guess like hurt Selina and the campaign in order to get that job. You like sort of the first time I've seen Amy do something so much in her self-interest that has been to the detriment of Selina. What was that like? Like, how do you feel about that direction for Amy? Yeah.
I think it was absolutely right. I think that Amy is as Machiavellian, if not more, than Dan, and that's how she's gotten to where she is. I also, though, would ask everyone to see, you know, yes, it is definitely her self-interest, but hey, let's face it, Dan was kind of tanking that campaign. I feel like, you know, in Amy's mind, she's like, no, I must rescue this campaign, and it's going to be me who rescues it, right? So she's going to be the William Wallace of this campaign, and you know, and yeah, if she needed to kind of lose Selina a battle in order to win a greater war, I think she was willing to do that. So that's, you know, playing that episode and playing Amy in that episode, that's certainly where she's coming from. You know, she wouldn't admit to any of it being surely detrimental to Selina. So, you know, Selina is, you know, she's like a cat. She's got plenty of lives. So I think Amy knew that she could handle that better than a defeat that Ray would present on a plate, you know, to her. So Ray was dangerous for her.
Yeah. She lit a fire she could put out.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
I think so. At least, I mean, hey, we don't know what season 4 brings. Who knows what stuff we'll discover? But that's how I feel about that so far.
Mm. With season 4, Floral Glasses has asked, are we going to get any more Amy backstory in season 4?
You know what? You guys know as well as I do. We start workshopping our episodes in September, so I can't wait to find out. I have no idea where they're going. So I mean, my goodness, what a new path to blaze they've left us. So oh my gosh, I mean, it'll be nice if there's some backstory, but also I know they've got, you know, Amy's got plenty to deal with in the present too.
Well, talking about that path you've got to blaze, how did you feel about that big end of season twist where Selina becomes the president? It's sort of throwing the show into like a position where we don't even know what it's going to be called next year as fans. So how do you feel about that direction, and what was that like when you got that script, or you were informed that Selina's going to become president in episode 10?
The first moment was pure shock, and we're like, oh, okay. Like, didn't really think that was a possibility, but of course we're writing it, so we can write whatever we want, right? You know, like, okay, that's gonna happen, and yeah, like none of us, you know, knew, yeah, like what it would be called, like and we still don't, or at least I don't. I don't know if anybody else does, but I don't, and you know, I think after the shock subsided, and then like just the very, you know, the playing of it, the doing the episodes, you know, and just doing the work, I think, you know, just sheer admiration for our writers and our creator Armando Iannucci for like the audacity to go there. You know, it kind of, yeah, it gives me a bit of a creative thrill to think that they're willing to do that and willing to put our characters into, you know, such a surprising situation. So yeah, I'm totally excited. I cannot wait to find out what they're cooking up.
Yeah, and the way they did it was so sort of surprising too, just because like I sort of like had in my head that, oh, maybe she's going to become president and that's where the show's going. You know, the final episode of the season is called New Hampshire, so, you know, that's sort of when they got that primary. Probably have another season of campaigning, and then maybe season 5 she'll be president. Like, you know. Or,
I thought too.
Yeah. But, she's it now, and, you know, who knows, like, what will happen with the campaign now, and whether someone else will get the nomination, and she'll be a running mate as VP. Like, it could be anything. Like,
how unprecedented, you know, how, like, I mean, that's so, and the stakes, you know, you think that the stakes can't get any higher than running for president just in general, but then to run as an incumbent who wasn't elected, I mean, now the fall's even farther than, you know, the stakes just got even higher, because it would be, you know, it would be so devastating if they didn't succeed in that election. So, you know, yeah, and I'm speaking as a complete, like as a viewer, like I have no idea what will happen. So, yeah, I'm just as bewildered, and we'll see. And you know what? The good thing is, like, you know, it's in the right hands. You know, it's in the right hands. Our writers can do it.
You talked about like your writers, and earlier you talked about with the cast how much you love playing in the sandbox with them. And Veep is such a different way of doing a show than I would guess all other shows, but definitely most other shows, where you workshop the scripts and they get refined and done through you sort of improvising and things. Over the years, how have you found that process? Probably something that you haven't really, other than In the Loop, which may have used a similar thing, not really done much of before.
You know, I've always kind of known this, but the best way somebody put it to me was this summer I met the illustrious playwright Terrence McNally, and he was like, how many writers do you have on that show? And I said, you know, 7+, and he's like, really? Because you cannot tell. It feels like one voice. And I really believe that that's because of the way we workshop, the way that Arm and his writers are totally open and brave enough and believe enough in the excellence of play that it's somehow the collaboration of all of these forces of our cast, of our characters, of the writers' points of view of our characters, and the plots that they come up with, all of that being present in every episode, you know, it puts out so much more than just one writer or just, you know, one point of view can. So it's greater than the sum of its parts, right? So that's I think that's kind of the key to this process we have, is that it enables us to kind of create a voice that is consistent and also very unique, because you can't recreate it. It's always dependent on the people in the room. And gosh, just saying that out loud, I mean, it makes me even that much more grateful that I get to be in the room. How great.
And like, is there ever been like a line or a bit that you've sort of done in the sort of like workshopping of the scripts that you've like just been really pleased about how that's gone, or gone, oh, it's so great I came up with that and that's contributed to part of this work?
You know, I mean, you know, we move so quickly, and there's so many of us that I think we've all grown, we've all learned well enough not to take too much time patting ourselves on the back. It's better to pat each other on the back and to be like, yeah, look at what I did. But you know, some good examples of what comes up in workshop that we really didn't even expect. As you know, we have the most intelligent people writing for us. Yet, you know, with the debates, for instance, a lot of physical comedy comes into that episode, into episode 8 of this 3rd season. And, you know, we had a terrific draft written for the debates by all of our writers when we got into the workshop room. But then when we started playing it out, when Julia and Isaiah and everybody started really, like, you know, using the physicality of it, then you start to see, oh my gosh, this person, there's like physical comedy we can do with this, with the podium and with her being shorter than the other candidates and the whole coming out and going back in. I mean, just such delicious things came out of that I think being, just doing a draft, with your computer, sometimes you can expect that, or sometimes you can think about that, but really you need to see it before you in order to discover that many more opportunities for comedy. So that's a perfect example of what we find, and also it takes such a great eye, like Julia or like Arm and like our all of our writers, to be able to pick out the stuff that works, that we find in workshop, because there's plenty of stuff in workshop that doesn't work, but there's plenty of stuff that does work, and that's what they look for. So they're wonderful miners for what works.
I just find it so like interesting, the collaborative nature of the show, and it is something that I've only like learned about in the past year or so, but it's really like exciting to hear how that works, and sort of how, yeah, there's so many voices contributing to what we end up seeing on Veep.
Yeah, it's its own monster.
Yeah. We've got another question in the chat room. Do you know if you'll be doing more Hannibal as Miriam Lass?
I don't know. It's I know that she, my gosh, we're all wondering what on earth happens to a lady who shoots someone in the face in an interrogation room. Like, what now? There's plenty that could happen to her for sure. I mean, it's always it comes down to scheduling a lot of the time, so I really don't know yet, because we haven't even started to film Veep and know what my availability is. So it's more a task. It takes administrative creativity to answer that question.
Well, thank you so much for chatting with us today, Anna, about Veep, about the Emmy Awards, and all that sort of stuff. It's all the best for the Emmys, all the best for season 4, when you find out the trail you're blazing, and yeah, just it's always great to chat with you and the guys from Veep.
Well, thank you, and likewise. Have a great one.
Yeah, I will.
Thank you.